21 things you must do in any cruise ship cabin on day 1. You're here. You finally made it. You're stepping into your cruise cabin, ready to unpack, relax, and enjoy your vacation. But hold up. Before you do anything, there are some really important things you need to take care of first. These aren't just little nice-to-do things. Skipping these steps could actually make your trip less comfortable or even cause some serious regrets later on. Some of these might seem obvious, but I promise there are a few game changers in here that most people don't think about until it's too late. And trust me, you do not want to be the person stuck dealing with an issue that could have been fixed in the first 5 minutes of stepping into your cabin. Now, before I get into the first thing you need to do inside your cabin, I just want to quickly mention something that's actually important before you even get on the ship. Hopefully, you booked a good cabin location, because that matters a lot. If you haven't cruised before, or even if you have and never really thought about this, where your cabin is located can make or break your experience. Ideally, you want a cabin with rooms both above and below you, because if you're under the buffet or near a nightclub, you might regret it real fast. I learned this the hard way. One time, I figured, the buffet closes early, it won't be a big deal. Nope, I was so wrong. The buffet may have closed, but the crew was in there doing dishes and prepping food all night long. I could hear everything. If you ever end up in a cabin like that, just do yourself a favor and bring earplugs. Seriously, they're a lifesaver. Alright, now that you're actually in your cabin, here's the first thing you need to do. Number 1, sanitize everything. Yes, even if it looks clean. I know, you're on vacation. The last thing you want to think about is germs, but let's be real. Hundreds, maybe thousands of people have stayed in this exact room before you. And while the housekeeping crew does their best, they don't have time to deep clean everything between guests. Before you touch too many surfaces, grab a pack of sanitizing wipes and do a quick wipe down of the important areas. Start with the light switches, then wipe down the door handles, bathroom knobs, and especially the TV remote. That remote is probably the dirtiest thing in the entire cabin because it rarely gets cleaned properly. Even if your room looks spotless, it's better to be safe than sorry. The last thing you want is to catch a cold, or worse, on day 1 of your cruise. Number 2, check the mattress. This one's really important. Alright, I know this isn't the most fun thing to do when you first walk into your cabin, but just trust me on this one. Grab your phone flashlight and take a quick look at the corners of the mattress. Now, before you freak out, I'm not saying there's going to be a problem. Most cabins are totally fine. But bedbugs? They're sneaky little things, and they can show up anywhere. Hotels, Airbnbs, cruise ships, you name it. They don't discriminate. So take a second to check the edges and seams of the mattress. You're looking for small brown stains, tiny black dots, or any movement, because if you see little bugs crawling around, that's a huge red flag. If everything looks good, great. But if you see anything suspicious, do not put your luggage on the bed. Call guest services immediately. This is something you don't want to realize 3 days into your trip. Number 3, meet your cabin steward, your best friend for the week. Now that you've given your room a quick safety check, it's time to introduce yourself to your cabin steward. These are the people who are going to be taking care of your room every single day, sometimes even twice a day. Here's the thing. Cabin stewards are incredibly helpful, but most people never think to ask for the little extras that can make a big difference in their cruise. If you like sleeping with extra pillows, they can bring you more. If the mattress is too firm, they can add a mattress topper to make it softer. If you packed a lot of clothes and need more hangers, just ask. One thing a lot of people don't know is that some cruise lines can even provide things like a kettle or coffee maker, even if they don't advertise it. If you're someone who loves having a cup of tea or coffee in your room in the morning, ask your steward. They might be able to bring one. And if you like having ice-cold drinks, you can also ask them to keep your ice bucket refilled throughout the cruise. And here's a little insider tip. If you tip your steward a little something on day 1, you'll absolutely get even better service. You don't have to go crazy, but giving them $10 or $20 at the start of your cruise will make a difference. Your steward will remember you, and they'll probably go the extra mile to make sure your room is exactly how you like it for the entire trip. Number 4, check that everything works now, not later. Before you get too comfortable, take a couple of minutes to make sure everything in your room is working properly. You don't want to find out on night 3 that something's broken, because by then, it might be harder to get it fixed. Turn on the lights and make sure none of the bulbs are burned out. Grab the TV remote and check if it actually works or if the batteries are dead. If you have a balcony, test the door to see if you know how to lock and unlock it. Some of them have hidden knobs that aren't obvious. And trust me on this, flush the toilet and run the shower now before you actually need them. Check the shower pressure and make sure the water temperature adjusts properly. If something's off, report it to guest services right away because it's a lot easier to get things fixed on day one than later in the cruise. And one more thing, check the in-room safe. Sometimes the last guest locks it and forgets to reset it and then you can't use it. If it won't open, call guest services immediately so they can fix it for you. Number 5. Unpack and store your suitcase the right way. One of the best things you can do for yourself is get fully unpacked as soon as you get into your room. Trust me, you don't want to be stepping over a half-open suitcase all week. The good news is that cruise ship cabins are designed to make the most of the small space. Most cruise ships actually have underbed storage, which is perfect for storing your suitcase once you're done unpacking. I've met so many first-time cruisers who didn't realize this until the last day and spent their entire trip with their suitcase taking up half their floor space. So, once you've unpacked, slide your suitcase under the bed. If, for some reason, your suitcase is too big and won't fit, don't panic. Your cabin steward can actually take it away and store it for you until the end of the cruise. You just have to ask. Number 6. The minibar and what you need to do with it. Next, head over to your minibar. Even if you don't plan on using it, you still need to check it. Some cruise lines will charge you automatically if something is missing, even if you never touched it. The first thing to do is see if the minibar is included in your drink package. If it is, great. You can help yourself. But if not, and you'd rather not be tempted to pay cruise ship prices for snacks and drinks, you have another option. Empty it. You can actually ask your cabin steward to clear out the minibar for you, which gives you space to store your own drinks, snacks, or even medicine that needs to be refrigerated. I do this on almost every cruise because I like having my own water, soda, and snacks handy without having to run out to a bar every time I want something. And here's a little tip. If you're planning to bring your own non-alcoholic drinks on board, check your cruise line's policy ahead of time. Some allow you to bring sealed cans of soda or bottles of water, while others don't. So, once you've unpacked, slide your suitcase under the bed. If, for some reason, your suitcase is too big and won't fit, don't panic. Your cabin steward can actually take it away and store it for you until the end of the cruise. You just have to ask. Number 7. Figure out how to contact your cabin steward. Now, this might sound like a small detail, but it's actually really important. Figure out how to contact your cabin steward if you need anything during the cruise. Different cruise lines have different systems. Some have a simple "Do Not Disturb" or "Make Up Room" sign you hang on the door, while newer ships have buttons or digital panels that let your steward know whether you're in the room or out exploring. Some cruise lines even provide a direct phone number for your steward, which is great if you ever need something quickly, like extra towels or a maintenance request. If you don't see a number listed in your cabin, ask them directly on day one so you don't have to go searching later. It's a small thing, but knowing how to reach your steward makes life a lot easier if you ever need assistance. Number 8. Set up your power outlets. Don't wait until you need them. One of the first things you should do after unpacking is figure out where all the power outlets are in your cabin. Because on some ships, they're not always where you expect them to be. Most cruise cabins have limited outlets, and depending on the ship, they might be a mix of American, European, and USB ports. If you brought a universal travel adapter, now's the time to plug it in so you have the right setup for charging your phone, camera, or other devices. And here's a tip that even experienced cruisers sometimes miss. Check the bedside lamps. Many newer cruise ships have USB charging ports hidden on the side or underneath the lamp, but they're not always easy to spot. If you're traveling with multiple people and you all have devices to charge, a small cruise-approved power strip can be a lifesaver. Just make sure it's non-surge protected because cruise ships ban regular power strips for safety reasons. The last thing you want is to be scrambling for outlets when your phone battery is at 2%, so take a minute now to set everything up. Number 9. Turn on the ship's webcam, your secret window to the outside. If you're staying in an inside cabin, meaning one without a window or balcony, here's a little trick to give yourself a view of the outside world. Most cruise ships have a channel on the TV that shows the ship's webcam, usually from the front of the ship. This lets you see what's going on outside, whether it's sunrise, sunset, or even bad weather rolling in. I always make sure to find this channel on day one so I can quickly flip to it whenever I want to see where we are. It's especially helpful if you're in an interior cabin and you wake up with no idea what time it is because there's no natural light. So, take a second, turn on the TV, and scroll through the channels until you find the live ship camera. It's a simple but really helpful little trick. Number 10. Take photos or a video of your cabin, just in case. This one might seem unnecessary, but trust me, take a quick video or a few photos of your cabin when you first arrive. The reason? If there are any stains on the carpet, marks on the walls, or anything that looks like damage, you'll have proof that it was there before you checked in. Most cruise lines are really good about this, but in rare cases, someone might get charged for damage they didn't do. A quick video on your phone showing how your room looked when you arrived can save you from any misunderstandings later. Plus, it's just fun to have a video of your cabin when it's clean and untouched. Because let's be real, once you unpack, it's never going to look that neat again. Number 11. Ask for any extra amenities you might want. Cruise lines have cut back on some of the things they automatically provide in cabins, but here's a little secret. Many of them are still available if you ask. For example, bathrobes and slippers used to be included in most cabins, but now they're often reserved for suites or loyalty members. That doesn't mean you can't get them. If you enjoy lounging around in a robe, just ask your cabin steward. More often than not, they'll bring one to your room. The same goes for extra pillows, additional towels, mattress toppers, or even items like shower caps and cotton swabs. Some cruise lines also provide small sewing kits or shoe-shining cloths upon request. If you like to have an ice bucket that's always full, this is the time to let your steward know. They'll usually be happy to refresh it for you each day, but unless you ask, it might not happen automatically. These little touches can make your cabin feel much more comfortable, so take a moment to think about anything you might want before you get too settled in. Number 12. Check for hidden storage spaces you might have missed. Cruise cabins are designed to maximize space, and you might be surprised at how many storage areas are built into the room. Some of the best places to check include under the bed. Most cabins have plenty of space under the bed for storing suitcases, bags, and even shoes. Inside the ottoman, some cabins have a seat or ottoman that lifts open to reveal extra storage inside. Behind the mirrors, many cabins have medicine cabinet-style mirrors in the bathroom where you can store toiletries. In the bedside tables, some have drawers or hidden shelves you might not notice at first. If you're traveling with a lot of stuff, finding these hidden spaces early on will help you keep your cabin neat and organized for the rest of the trip. Number 13. Download and set up the cruise line's app. Most major cruise lines now have an official app that makes navigating the ship and keeping track of events so much easier. If you haven't already, take a few minutes to download it and set it up. Depending on the cruise line, the app can allow you to check the daily schedule for activities and entertainment, make dining reservations for specialty restaurants, view your onboard account to keep track of any charges, chat with other guests in your travel group. Some cruise lines offer this for free, while others charge a small fee. Even if you prefer to disconnect on vacation, having quick access to the ship's schedule is really helpful, especially if you don't want to carry around a paper itinerary. Number 14. Find your muster station and watch the safety video. If you haven't done this yet, take a minute to find out where your muster station is and make sure you've completed the required safety briefing. Most cruise lines now let you watch the safety video from your cabin TV instead of attending a large in-person muster drill like in the past. But there's usually one final step. After watching the video, you might need to visit your muster station and check in with a crew member to confirm that you've completed the process. This is mandatory, and if you don't do it early, the cruise line will track you down and remind you to do it before the ship leaves port. So, just get it done now, so you don't have to worry about it later. Number 15. Familiarize yourself with your cabin's lights and thermostat. Every cruise ship has a slightly different lighting and temperature control system, and some of them aren't as intuitive as you might expect. Some ships use motion-activated lights that turn off automatically if you don't move for a while others have bedside control panels that let you adjust everything from the brightness of the room to the mood lighting. Take a minute to test the light switches and make sure you understand how they work, especially if you're traveling with kids or someone who might wake up in the middle of the night looking for the bathroom. For the thermostat, set it to a temperature that feels comfortable for you. Keep in mind that cruise ships don't allow windows to be opened in most cabins, so your air conditioning is the only way to control the temperature. Number 16. Check for any noise issues before it's too late. If your cabin is in a quiet location, great. But as mentioned earlier in the video, if you notice loud noises from above, below, or through the walls, this is your one chance to do something about it before it's too late. The absolute worst thing is realizing on night one that you're under a late-night venue, a noisy engine, or a high-traffic hallway. If you're hearing loud sounds early on, don't just assume it'll go away. Go to guest services as soon as possible and let them know. If the ship isn't fully booked, you might be able to switch cabins. But if you wait too long, you'll be stuck. Even if you can't move rooms, they may be able to offer you a white noise machine or extra soundproofing options to help. Number 17. Check your cabin for motion sickness remedies. If you're someone who gets motion sickness, this is a big one. Some cruise cabins actually come with motion sickness bags stored in the bathroom or bedside drawer, especially on ships that sail in rougher waters. If you're worried about getting seasick, this is the time to be prepared. Make sure you know where the bags are, and if you forgot to pack seasickness meds, head to the medical center or an onboard shop and grab some before you start feeling bad. Also, if you're really struggling, you can go to guest services and ask for green apples or ginger ale. These are known to help with nausea, and many cruise lines provide them for free if you ask. Number 18. Remove unused hangers to avoid annoying noises. One thing you might not expect is that the ship's movement can make your hangers rattle inside the wardrobe. If you're not using all of them, take any extras out and store them under the bed or at the bottom of the closet so they don't shift around. If you need all of them, you can loop a towel or a piece of clothing through them to keep them from sliding back and forth. It seems like a small thing, but nothing is more annoying than lying in bed at night, listening to a constant clinking noise coming from your closet. Number 19. Secure any loose items in your cabin. Speaking of things moving around, remember that cruise ships aren't completely steady. Depending on the sea conditions, you might experience a little rocking motion, and that means anything left loose on a counter or table can slide around. If you've placed sunglasses, a water bottle, or a charging phone near the edge of a table, there's a good chance it might fall if the ship hits a few waves. To avoid this, store smaller items in drawers or shelves and keep important things, like your phone or glasses, on a surface where they won't go flying in the middle of the night. Number 20. Use magnetic hooks to instantly add more storage. Cruise cabins have very little counter space, but did you know the walls are metal? That means you can bring magnetic hooks and stick them anywhere to instantly create more storage. These are perfect for hanging hats, lanyards, bags, or even damp swimsuits. You can also use them to hold up the daily schedule or other important papers so they don't get lost in the mess. If you didn't bring any, check the onboard shop. Some cruise lines actually sell them because they know how useful they are. Before I say the last tip of the video, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe. I really appreciate your support. It really helps out my channel and it helps me bring you even more cruise tips and insider secrets. Number 21. Check with guest services for a possible free upgrade. Before you fully settle into your cabin, take a quick trip to guest services and ask one simple question. Are there any free or discounted cabin upgrades available? Now, you might be thinking, would they really just give me an upgrade for free? And the answer is, sometimes, yes. That means if you're one of the first people to ask, you could be bumped up to a better room, for free, or for a very low cost. I actually had a friend who tried this, and guess what? They went from an inside cabin to a balcony, completely free, just because they were the first to ask. The cruise line needed to move some people around, and instead of giving that upgraded room to someone randomly, they gave it to the first person who showed interest. Now, will this work every time? No, but it costs you absolutely nothing to ask, and even if they don't have free upgrades, sometimes they'll offer a heavily discounted paid upgrade that's way cheaper than if you had booked it in advance. So before you get too comfortable in your cabin, swing by guest services and see if there's an opportunity waiting for you. Because you never know. You might just end up spending your cruise in a way better cabin than you originally booked. Alright, that's everything you need to do on day one in your cruise cabin. If you made it this far, you are now officially more prepared than 90% of cruisers when they walk into their cabin for the first time. Now, get out there, enjoy your ship, and have an amazing cruise. And if you're interested in saving money on your cruise, you're definitely going to want to check out my next video, 30 money-saving hacks cruise lines don't want you to know. Feel free to click it now, and I'll see you over there.